Fonterra's moving to further reduce its emissions, converting its dairy factory near Timaru to run on wood pellets instead of coal. It's the country's biggest emitter and expects the $64 million spend will lead to a 9% reduction in its overall emissions. Fonterra turned off the last coal boiler in the North Island last month at Waitoa, and Clandeboyle is the first of 6 sites in the South Island to convert. Here's Chief Operating Officer Anna Palare.
We have a program that is prioritising which boilers we convert, and part of that decision-making process is the age of those boilers and the need to invest in them at certain times along the path between now and 2037, which is our target of getting out of all coal.
Ms Palare says Fonterra wants to establish a wood biomass supply in the South Island as it converts from coal at its other sites.
Hot, dry conditions in Canterbury and Hawke's Bay have firefighters busy already. There have been several large vegetation fires in the south, and with hot winds drying out pasture, farmers say it feels more like February than December. Sheep and beef farmers are offloading stock early, and dairy farmers are buying in more feed to get through. North Canterbury Federated Farmers President Carl Dean says there's been a lot more northwest winds than normal for this time of the year.
For the sheep and beef guys, they're definitely offloading lambs and that a bit earlier than normal, especially up in the hills. Making sure that they're not going to be caught short. In terms of the dairy farmers and all that, they're probably buying in a bit more feed than normal to realise that there's the risk they're going to need it.
Federated Farmers is urging the Commerce Commission to investigate banks for what it sees as cartel-like behaviour. BNZ, ANZ, Westpac, Rabobank and ASB's parent company are part of the global Net Zero Banking Alliance, which requires bank clients to meet emissions reduction targets in order to get lower interest rates. Here's Federated Farmers Banking spokesperson Richard McIntyre.
In my view, it's just woke virtue signalling. But now that we're in a position where they're all doing it, you've really got to question whether or not it is cartel-like behaviour, and that's why we've put this complaint into the Commerce Commission, because we think it's really worth investigating, for the good of New Zealand's farmers, but also for the good of the New Zealand economy.
Richard McIntyre says many farmer clients may not be able to meet the targets, but they have no other option but to borrow from one of the big 5 banks. BNZ Chair Warwick Hunt refuted such claims at the government's inquiry into banking competition this week.
We do not restrict credit at the present point in time. We set very, very large-scale whole-of-entity targets that we then report against, specifically under our external reporting standard.
The Commerce Commission says it's aware of Federated Farmers' complaint, but it would be premature to comment on whether any laws are being breached.
Zespri kiwifruit growers have overwhelmingly voted in support of increasing sungold plantings in other countries. Zespri wanted to extend its global supply by up to 420 hectares over 6 years across Italy, France, South Korea and Greece to ensure it can provide fruit to customers all year round. The expansion of international plantings will begin next year.
New Zealand's dairy cows are getting better and better at pumping out more milk. Dairy NZ has released stats for the year ending June, which show a record average of 400 kilograms of milk solids a cow. 20.5 billion litres of milk was produced, with milk solids up a slight 0.5% on the previous season. Dairy NZ Chief Executive Campbell Parker says herd sizes have dropped in the past decade, but production per cow has increased.
Things like genetics continuing to breed for better producing and better efficient animals. So there's a real focus on that across the sector as well at the moment around balancing up, environmental outcomes as well as productive performance. So, there's a lot of investment into technology.
Stats NZ's latest agricultural production survey shows the amount of land used to farm livestock or grow crops, grapes or forests continues to decline. The number of farms in Aotearoa has dropped by a third in the decade to 2022 to more than 47,000 farms as urban sprawl encroaches into rural areas.
A stone fruit company is hoping new varieties of apricots will lengthen the season and enable greater export volumes to key markets. Grower cooperative NZ Summer Fresh has commercial rights to 5 new cultivars bred in New Zealand, including Summer Spark and Summer Charm. I'm spotting a theme here. Chairman and grower Stephen Darling says when production ramps up in the next few years, they want to tap into new markets like Thailand, Singapore and Vietnam.
We're looking to be harvesting some of these exciting new ones sort of from about mid-late February through almost into March, which is when most of the rest of the world's run out. So I think there's a great opportunity for the timing of these ones as well as the great taste profile.
And tributes are flowing for Canterbury farmer Chris Allen, who died on his farm on Monday. Mr Allen was the Mid-Canterbury Federated Farmers Meat and Wool Chair, then President, before joining the National Board in 2014. Federated Farmers Chief Executive Terry Copeland says during his 8 years' service in that role, Mr Allen made his mark as biodiversity and freshwater spokesperson. He says farmers have lost a real titan in terms of rural advocacy. His death has been referred to the coroner.
This is Country Life on RNZ National 101 FM.